Thank you so much, Christy, for joining us on this week's Wisdom Wednesday. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you are a very busy woman, so I really appreciate you hopping on for the impact community and the young professionals within the mortgage industry.
More excited to be here, Ashley. And I think one of the things for me when we talk about being busy, all of our lives are all busy, right? I don't know anybody who really just sits around and has nothing to do and they're twiddling their thumbs, hoping something pops up. We all fill our schedules with something. And is that the something that we want to do? Is that the something that we need to do? I'm excited that this is what I get to do right this minute with you and with the impact community.
Oh, I love that. I think that's very spot on. We are all extremely busy, but yeah, we get to fill it with the certain things that we choose to do. And I'm so happy that you are choosing to do this with me today. So I would love to hand it over to you just real quick, and I would love to have you introduce yourself and kind of tell our listeners who you are and what you do.
I'm Christy Soukhamneut, and I am the Chief Lending Officer at University Federal Credit Union. We are a partner with not only the University of Texas, but many other colleges and local businesses here in Austin, Texas. I have been in the lending space since way longer than I'd like to admit. Started out as an appraiser, moved over into mortgage lending, making my first mortgage loan in 1994. If that gives you kind of an idea, having been an appraiser before that, but started my journey here as an originator and making my living serving customers. And it is the blessing of my life that I have been able to help people build generational wealth, have a place to put their head every night that they get to call their own, and that my career has kept me in this space and allowed me to have the kind of impact that I get to have each day.
Great. Well, I'm very happy to have you on. I would love to just dive right in and ask you for the impact community and for those watching. The impact community is the young professionals networking group within MBA. So, what drew you to want to do this video today and kind of share some of your wisdom for the young professionals of our industry?
I think about my career and my ability to advance and learn and grow, it was all because somebody else took time to share their wisdom with me, to share their experiences. And that continues through today, right? It started early in my career when I knew nothing about mortgage lending. I made my first loan, like I said, in 1994. I can't believe anybody did business with me. I can't believe anybody referred me business, given the lack of knowledge that I had. But luckily, I had great mentors who taught me how to be a good loan officer, how to be a person who was a servant leader. And as we think about what that means, it means that part of our job as leaders is to give back and to to have an open kimono type moment where we share not only the good things that happened to us, but some of the struggles that we had as we've moved through our careers. Because there is no perfect trajectory, there is no one way to get to somewhere. And you need all the wisdom and insights that you can get so you can see how it applies to yourself and how you can learn from what others have gone through.
I love that you say that you had mentors that shared not only the success of themselves and the successful parts of the business, but also the struggles. I think it's really important for the young professionals to know that it's okay to fail. It's okay to take the leap and to struggle and to really dive into what that looks like, because you are going to fail and it's okay. And you shouldn't be afraid of that. You should have your community around you that will support you through that failure. And so I think it's really good that you kind of started from the very, very bottom of the industry and worked your way all the way up to where you are today. What would you say was the best thing you did starting from where you did in order to really set yourself up for success and to help you kind of climb that industry ladder? Is there one thing that kind of sticks out in your mind that really set you up for success back then?
But one thing I would say, and I can look at this in hindsight, is asking a lot of questions being naturally curious and asking, like, why does this work this way? How do we do this? Why haven't we changed this? Why do you do it this way and somebody else does it a different way? So it helped me understand what the models were in the industry, being curious about how we made money. So if you understand how your corporation makes money and how you impact that, you can learn the business and grow. If you care and are inquisitive about what your partners internally and externally do, it makes you better at whatever role that you have. I can remember as an originator thinking that the closers, just hit enter, right? And that it was like a magic button to send it, like having no real idea what they did. Like, why does it take this long to get a closing package out? And sitting down with somebody and saying, show me what you do every day. Show me how what I do impacts you, helped me improve as the person that I was in whatever role that I had. And that has been that curiosity, that desire to learn, and the desire to learn from outside of our industry. Some of the best solutions come from people who do something different than we do because they approach problems in a different way. They have a different perspective. And so creating that network of friends and families and mentors that are outside of our industry was really helpful in bringing it back and helping me grow as a person.
Yeah, I love that. So one of the things that you just said, stepping back a little bit, I can very much relate with, because I think it's so important. There's a couple things. One is cross training. I am very, very passionate about when people are interested and curious, like you said, about the industry and different positions. And if you are a closer or a loan officer's assistant, it's so important, and it's such good industry knowledge to know what all of the positions around you also do. It makes you better at your job. It makes you more empathetic to the people that are down the line, like those closers that are with the closing package. You understand what they do, and you understand what they go through, and you understand what the underwriters do. And so learning all of that, I think, is a huge, crucial point, that really can lift you up in your career and get that knowledge. And so I think that's a really good kind of piece to that is cross training. But also, and I have said this in a previous interview, and I really would love to just to drill it home again too, is there's only so far that young professionals can go without the executives letting them in the room. They don't have to do everything in the room. They don't have to be the ones making the decisions, but if they're at least invited to have a seat at the table or be in the room where decisions are being made, or where things are just being talked about, like how we make money as a mortgage company, or why we're setting our pricing this way, or just different things, so that the young professionals can really start to learn more about the industry. It's all about knowledge. And so I think that's a really good kind of way to not give them a handout, but just at least get their foot in the door of starting to learn more about the industry.
A couple things come from what you just said. One is you have to earn your right to be in the room, to even be in the room, not have a seat at the table, but just to even be a part of that discussion. And one of the things that you can do as a young professional or somebody who's newer to the industry is take advantage of what MBA offers. You can have an amazing set of free online classes that teach you about other parts of the business and help you ask good questions. I had somebody earlier in my career that mentored me that was outside of the industry. And I asked this person, who was a very senior executive at another organization, like, why, when I was a stranger and I picked up the phone and called you, would you agree to have a conversation with me? Number one. And then number two, why would you agree to mentor me and do things? And this is what he said. He said, senior leaders, and I think I've found this to be true, not only of myself, but of others. Senior leaders really want to have the opportunity to give back, but they need to have people who are really interested in doing the work. And so, one, you have to give yourself a good foundation of knowledge so that you are asking good questions right? This is an area where there are dumb questions. You need to educate yourself to some extent before you show up in the room and ask for help. Then two, you need to be very specific as to what you want to learn, asking those questions and coming to the mentorship meetings prepared, coming to, if you get invited into the room, coming into that room prepared, knowing what the limitations are of the leaders that have invited you, what you can do, and then creating time afterwards to debrief and understand what you learned, what you saw, asking the right questions, so that your growth and development occurs. It's not necessarily appropriate to ask them while you're in the room. Sometimes it is. Know the room, read the room that you're in, talk to the leader before you go, but make the time to really show up prepared. And if you do that, I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised at the opportunities that just show up for you. If you go into opportunities like this and you don't come prepared and you expect to kind of sit back and say, all right, make me better, that's not going to work well for you. And it's not going to encourage leaders to invite you back to the room or give you opportunities to grow and develop in your career. And there is definitely a difference. You can see it. And it's pretty easy to tell who has come prepared and who hasn't.
Absolutely. I think that's a great piece of advice. Back to kind of what you said about MBA, we do have a ton of all of the cross training materials. If you're a closer that wants to know more about underwriting, we have a huge library of courses that can help you take that next step on that knowledge so that you can come prepared to those meetings. So I completely agree with you. I think that's a really great piece of advice. I don't ever think you should go into a meeting unprepared or not knowing what the meeting's about. Or if you have an opportunity, like you said, to be in the room with these executives, you should know exactly what the meeting's about. You should have a pen and paper to take notes. You should have questions already coming in, whether you ask them or not. Because if you get asked, do you have any questions? I feel like it would be very good to have at least some subset of questions that you are curious about, so that when you do get provided that opportunity, you can come prepared, almost like an interview. You should have things lined up so that if you get asked, do you have any questions for me? I think that's a great way to almost look at that. But yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice. So thank you for that.
When you think about the opportunities that you've had, Ashley, what has stood out to you that was meaningful and impactful for you growing your career?
So that's a great question. And two pieces come to mind there. One, in my previous company, I had probably one of the best mentors, and I didn't even consider her at the time a mentor because I was so early in my career. She was just my boss, but I got close enough to her personally that we spent so much time together, and I learned so much from her. I was previously, so I started in the industry as a mortgage processor and worked my way up to being a manager of operations, and then got into the training side of the operations team. And so I was the manager of training, and the director of training at the time was my boss, and we worked very closely together, and she mentored me, daily, just through all of the different things that we were going through at the time. So having somebody that I can really feel comfortable and asking so many questions, like you said, but I had somebody that I felt comfortable enough to do that with. So I think that's the first piece of that for me. But the second piece is really where it kind of opened my eyes for me is I was, as a trainer, I was asked to kind of lead the training piece of this huge LOS implementation for my previous company, which was a credit union. We were changing loan origination system platforms. And if you've ever done that, I'm sure you have, it's a huge, huge infrastructure, and you're building it from scratch. And as somebody that started as a processor and then was a loan officer and a closer, and kind of worked my way through the operations team and division, and then was a trainer, I really only knew the credit union side of an operations department. And I knew kind of the baseline of the regulations back then and why we did things a certain way. But it really gave me the opportunity, because I was in the room, to ask well, why are we doing it this way? Why do I have to write these rules and regulations this way because of X, Y, and Z? And so it really opened my world to so many different pieces of the mortgage industry. And that's kind of what made me step into, well, I want to know more. And I took the initiative because I had the opportunity to know more about why we were doing this big LOS implementation. And it's because we're trying to improve our systems and improve our clear to close timelines and improve all of the efficiency of each role as they come and are on the secondary marketing platform. And so it was really good for me to be able to kind of step into something that let me kind of cross train without having to necessarily cross train. Like it opened my world to so many different things that's really kind of what sparked my interest to and helped me grow and want to learn more. It kind of lit the fire.
What's interesting about what you said is you were able to cross train and learn without actually having to do the job. And that's true. Like, we don't have to have an official cross training program for you to grow your knowledge. Not only do you have courses through MBA, but we have Google and YouTube and TikTok and I mean, any number of places on the internet that you can gain knowledge. And I mean, call me old fashioned, we have books. You can get so much knowledge from people who have written books and shared their experiences, and they can be your mentor through their words on the page. You don't have to have a personal relationship with somebody to be able to read and follow and learn from what they're doing. That being said, I think when we talk about mentorship, we also want to talk about that it's a two-way street. One of the things that you don't want to give up as a young person is the fact that you bring fresh perspective. So just like when you're new to an organization, you've seen the way it's done somewhere else, you bring a fresh set of eyes to what's going on, that not being able to see the forest for the trees or the trees for the forest, depending on how you say your phrase. As a young person, you want to continue to bring that fresh perspective to the leaders and know that you bring value to the mentorship process when, yes, they're mentoring you on how to become a leader and they're helping you get into the room to see how decisions are made so that you can expand your horizons. You're also helping them with your perspective and understanding how somebody new to the business or new to their organization, or maybe both, is thinking about something in a different way. When we talk about having a lot of diversity, we want to make sure that we have diversity of thought, diversity of person, diversity of experiences, right? It all matters because when we bring those things to bear and each person has a say-so at the table and gets to share their perspective, we make better decisions. So if you're being mentored and you're joining a room, it shouldn't be because you want to change who you are and you want to show up, maybe you want to show up differently. You want to increase your business acumen and your professional presence. But don't forget to bring who you are to that room and to the conversations that you have, because there's a lot of value in that. And I love when I get to mentor somebody that's new to the business or new to our organization, because it does provide me with that fresh perspective of, am I making the right decisions? Am I including all the perspectives that need to happen so that we can deliver to the marketplace what's needed, and that we are delivering, in our case, to members, and in my past life to borrowers and clients. What are we bringing to the table to them? And are we bringing everything that we need because we've looked at those different perspectives?
I love that. I think that's a really good piece of advice. I think it's really important for mentors and mentees to know, just like you said, that it is a two-way street. You both get something out of it. So it doesn't always have to be a formal relationship. It can be very informal. Like I said, my mentor, somebody that I now consider my mentor, didn't even know she was my mentor. She was just my boss, or she was just somebody that I really looked up to and was able to bounce ideas off of. So, and like you said, if you're ever looking for a mentor or trying to seek out that mentorship, don't be afraid to just make the ask and see where it can take you, because there's so many people out there that want to give back, and mentees that want to have that opportunity to get the new perspective and fresh perspectives of new people in the industry. So I think that's a really great piece of advice. So I would love to pivot a little bit, just to ask you about all of your videos that I've seen on LinkedIn. I've seen multiple of them, and I think they're fantastic. One thing that I've interviewed a couple people about like social media and doing videos on social media, but a lot of them are like in the sales field, or they're loan officers, and so they're kind of doing it to build business. But you're kind of on the other side of things where you're a lender. So what kind of drew you to start making videos like that in your role?
What's interesting about it is, you talk about the opportunity to give back as a leader. And one of those things is I throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to bring new people into the business and train them from scratch. And my favorite story of that is the person I hired off the side of the road that had a sandwich board sign on that said, "Have finance degree, will work for free first 30 days," handing out resumes. And I was like, this guy deserves an interview. Somebody brought him to my attention and shared it with me. And this is a person who's now many, many years later, still in the business, still doing great and amazing things. And is somebody I continue to connect with. But being able to give back has always been meaningful to me. And so the reason I do those videos, the reason I started them was just to share a little pick me up, a little something that if somebody was looking for something to do in their business, hey, here's a place where you can get it, right? There's never a call to action in my videos. It's not about selling something or getting people to come to work where I am. It's really just giving back to the community that has given so much to me in a meaningful way. And what's really interesting is when I started doing these videos, I was like, nobody's watching. Like, there is literally nobody watching. I wonder if it's a waste of time. And after, I don't know, it was more than a year, people would come up and say, "I watch your videos every week. Here's something that was impactful to me that I was able to do." Now, this is a person that had never liked a video, never commented on a video. And that started happening more and more. And so, one, you never know when you put something good out into the world, what's going to happen. And so don't be so focused on one perfection. My videos are one shot and done. There are mistakes. Certainly they've gotten better over the years. If you go back and look at some of the ones from many years ago, they're very different. You get better at what you practice. So don't be afraid to just put something out there. Two, know why you're doing it so that you are putting the right energy, effort, and tracking those types of results. For me, I was doing it as a give back. My goal is not to have so many likes or so many, responses, or to drive sales in a certain way. I want to know that I'm having impact on somebody's life. And it means the world to me when I get a direct message or a text message or any other type of communication, when I see people at MBA events or others where they say, "I watched this video and I did this." Probably the most impactful was a new LO who reached out to me one day and said, "I started as an LO in the business. The company I was with just really didn't have any kind of training. It was just, sink or swim. And I started watching your videos. And then every week I implemented whatever it was you said. And I added that to my regimen. And then I would go back and say, okay, well, I can't do any more. So what do I take off my plate? What's most impactful? How do I keep doing that?" And then he shared with me his numbers of what he went from not being in the business to where he was a year later by implementing something every week that we talked about. And that's to have that kind of impact and never know that there's a person who is not able to get what they need from their leadership for whatever reason. They connect with you and they're able to do that. And you don't even know you're having that kind of impact. So that's why I do it. That's why I will continue to do it. And hopefully there's at least one person out there getting some type of value from the 2 minutes that I spend on the internet each week.
I love that. So there's a couple things you said that I really resonate with. One, I love that you do it all in one take. I think that shows just being super authentic. I think that's really fun to just try and almost like challenge yourself. When I started these videos, if I look back at my first, second, third one, and I know that I haven't been doing these for very long, but I know myself and I'm like, oh my gosh, just in the short, I started these in September. So just in the short, 4 months that I've been doing these, 3 months that I've been doing these, I feel like I'm so much more comfortable and so much more, I I can do these and not really care about if I have to re-record something, or I can do it and feel more comfortable doing it in one take. So I love that you do it in one take. The question that I have for you, because this is something that I struggle with on a lot of my videos outside of the Wisdom Wednesday videos, I try and put more thought into these, but sometimes when I want to do just a video of a thought that pops into my head of something like, oh, I feel like I would like to share that, or something that someone told me that resonated with me and I would like to share that. But sometimes I want to put stuff out there and I just don't know exactly quite what to put out there yet, or more like looking for content. So how do you come up with what you want to say that week, or what your videos are going to be about?
When I first started, I had a series of prompts that it was like, all right, what needs to be out in the world? And I had these 5 kind of buckets or areas. And then before I sat down to make the video, I would look and say, what has happened this week in these 5 buckets? Which one would be most impactful for me to share? And I think that's important when you consider why you're doing something. If you create your 3 to 5 prompts that help you think about it. So if you're an originator and you're wanting to drive business and create, relationships with referral sources and an impact for a borrower, think about what information they would need. So as you think about what's happening, so maybe this week, and depending on when folks are watching this, but maybe you need to talk about the new loan limits, or maybe you need to talk about the change that FHFA has made to what your LTV is on multifamily properties, and educate people on why that might be important. So are you approaching it from an education perspective? Are you approaching it from, if you're talking to your referral sources, are you talking to them about lead generation or building their business? And kind of have those buckets. And it doesn't have to be the same every week, but have a general theme that you're doing. Today, when I sit down and make a video each week, I'm thinking about the salespeople that are on the street. What information, if they were sitting across from me and said, hey, what should I know about today? That's the information that I'm trying to share. And that's what guides what I do and how I post those videos. You look at other folks who do a tremendous job of posting videos. And, there's one person in particular I'm thinking about, and this person every week posts, what do you need to know about the market and how is it impacting interest rates? And how is it impacting the volume that you're likely to do? And that is phenomenal. So we want to make sure that you just think about what that is. And the other thing that I do that I have found tremendously helpful is I have a Trello board, and it can be anything, right? It can be your notes app in your phone, whatever it is. When an idea comes to me that, hey, this might be good to share in a video, I jot it down. Because I'm pretty consistent with only making 1 a week. Occasionally there's 2, or there might be an Instagram story in there. Pretty generally it's 1 a week. So I jot those ideas down in my Trello board so that when I get ready to make the video, I can kind of pull them back out. In addition to thinking about those 5 questions that I have, I go back and I look at those notes and say, all right, yeah, this seemed impactful. That's probably not good enough. It's probably not enough value. So what is the thing that has the biggest value? And I can pull that out, because we know our best ideas come when we're in the shower, when we're walking around the grocery store. They're not when we sit down to do something. And so take a moment to jot those ideas down. Now, I'd love that, you look at some of the folks who really do a good job at social media, where this is their livelihood, where they're educating you, and they talk about creating batch videos. I, by the way, am terrible at this. I think it's a good idea, though. If you have 5 ideas, record 5 videos. Now, I'd tell you to change your jacket or change your shirt, do something so it looks like you're not all recording them on the same day. But maybe you do need to batch record videos. If your life is structured in a way where you need to do more than 1 video a week because that's what resonates with you and with your audience and what you feel good about, then you probably do need to record more than 1 at a time. So have a day or a time set aside to do that. Time blocking is a phenomenal exercise to do to get more done. If you're like me and you're doing 1 a week, I like to do them kind of live, not truly live, but just the one take, the one time, thinking about what's most impactful that day, because it allows the message to resonate the most with folks, because it is what's going on that week. There are multiple approaches, and I would tell you there's not one right or wrong way to do it. It's what works for you and what your audience is going to find value with?
I do, it's not the Trello board, but I do on my notepad, or I'll open an email and send like a note to myself. I always have the best ideas when I'm working out for some reason. If I'm on a walk or on a run or at the gym lifting weights, I like all these ideas start, like the endorphins are flowing, and so all my ideas start coming to me, and I'm like, this is the worst time for that to have all these ideas. I can't make a video right now. I'm in my workout clothes, or I'm out on a walk. Like, so I always have to like send my notes. But yes, I think that's a great way to do that for sure. Well, Christy, thank you so much for hopping on. I've learned a ton. I think that you are phenomenal, and I really appreciate your time and you taking a moment out of your day to talk with MBA and Impact, and for all of the young professionals out there.
Ashley, thank you for inviting me. I have enjoyed the conversation and look forward to reading the comments from folks who join or getting direct messages and hearing how we can help. Raise your hand. Love to talk to you.
Thanks so much, Christy.